10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Hack the Box Ottawa Meetup. I'm JF, and we have as well with us the great Steve. Yeah, unfortunately, last time you couldn't be here. I think it was in June. Sorry, not in June. In May. In May, you couldn't be here, and then unfortunately, in June, I had a couple things. So unfortunately, I could not schedule another meetup at this point. But very gracious that you guys are showing up over here and all that stuff. We're very appreciative to have everyone on board, and hopefully, you guys have a great time. So, how's it going, Steve?
Oh, it's going.
Which way?
Well, we're lucky that nothing huge has happened in the past week or so. So, you know.
Since Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been pretty big news. The whole, I don't know if anyone's heard of CrowdStrike before, but the CrowdStrike outage or the outage caused by the CrowdStrike content update. It's been everywhere. And at first it's funny because it was kind of like, oh, this happened and maybe it's a Windows issue because Azure had an outage at the same time for minutes compared to
on the cloud side.
Yeah, exactly. And now I'm noticing that it went from how did this happen, why did this happen, to in the LinkedIn universe anyway, I'm seeing a lot of just straight up like CrowdStrike sucks.
And from your assessment, like what's the initial thing that people probably didn't do correctly? Like, sorry, not people, but the company CrowdStrike didn't do it properly.
Yeah, from what I've seen, what I've read, because I've honestly never been a CrowdStrike user. I've competed against them. In my opinion, I think they've had a pretty sweet setup. But it seems like because they have kernel level access with their detection, a simple gaffe, let's say in QA, which turned out to be enormous, led to just this worldwide outage. And it's crazy because some of the stuff I read, and it's hard to tell, what's true, what's not, because I haven't read it from the source. They said that they never tried it internally. So it's like called dog food testing, like eat your own dog food, right? And I read that they didn't do that. Like they didn't test it internally on their own systems, run it on their own systems internally to see if it would break anything. It was just kind of part of CI/CD. It was QA tested probably automatically, automated, and then pushed out. And I think it can happen to anyone really. I don't know who has perfect QA practices, but it's one of those things where right now I'm trying to have as much empathy as possible. And I think it's super easy for me because I don't have any CrowdStrike using clients and I'm not a CrowdStrike user, but
yeah, it's something that sometimes you're going to realize that people are going to voice their concern about something that should have been done, but then in their own company, they're not even doing it. So obviously, I can tell you, we can preach so many different things. We can say the best practices are that, but is in reality the exact same thing. The other thing too is if we take in consideration, for example, CrowdStrike being a big company that has lots of employees, they may still need more employees to be able to make it work, right? So if that's the case, what they need to do is basically maybe hire more employees, or maybe they need some sort of automation to be able to circumvent those problems. And so it may happen. So it's unfortunate. This is something that should never happen, obviously, but this is something that will happen to other companies as well, even though they already know that. It's the same thing as what we can say about what was the one Equifax, right? With Happy Strut and then not patching your servers. And how many times, if you've been here, I mean, some of you has been here maybe for the first time, but how many times, if you rewatched all the videos that we had before, that we had Steve on the show here, how many times did he tell you, patch your stuff, right? Easy to say. It can be harder to do. So so that's one main thing there that can be very hard to do. So yeah, I'll let you speak for a second. I just need to give access to one of our viewers here. But if you have some other stuff in the pipeline, Steve, just feel free to add them up. And then after that, I should probably show an article and share with you afterwards. Why not you directly, Steve, but the viewers?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's not really well, it is cybersecurity because it's all of us. I think that so if you guys are probably familiar with John Hammond. He's like a rock star, works at Huntress, has a lot of videos, does a lot of I think he unearthed Log4Shell or Log4j vulnerability. And the one thing he posted one day about like hug ops, and I was kind of like, oh, that's such a that's not. I don't like that term. And then I was, after a couple of days of seeing how things have gone with the whole CrowdStrike issue, I'm like, oh, that makes total sense now. Like we need to actually be like mindful of everyone else and not just be like death to CrowdStrike, because if that were the case, then we wouldn't have Windows, we wouldn't have X number of applications that, while they haven't taken things down to that perspective, to that point of the $5.4 billion or whatever it's cost people so far.
If it's not even much more, right? At the end of the day,
exactly.
Like what can we calculate in there, right? So can we just take, let's say, the airlines in consideration, saying they went down? So if they went down, how many people were going on a business trip? They had to go somewhere and they couldn't, right? So can we consider them being part of the loss, technically speaking, for everyone in there? That's the question that's that I'm actually wondering. I don't know if you have an opinion about that.
Yeah, like I think there will be a lot of I don't know what you call it, recursive costs or whatever, because of this outage, or residual costs. But I saw someone compared like this issue with the largest ransom paid in a ransomware. I think we have to look at how much does ransomware cost every year for the past X number of years. And this has happened once, right, with CrowdStrike. And again, this was huge. And the biggest mistake I think that CrowdStrike made was they sent out like a $10 gift card as an apology to people. I read somewhere, and I hope it's not true, but I did read that. And if that's the case, that's come on. But I think that there will probably still be a lot of cost to be calculated, but at the same time, I wonder, to play, I don't know, nice guy. I want to call it devil's advocate. I'm just playing nice guy. How much money has CrowdStrike saved companies from preventing various threats?
Yeah. So
that, something to consider. Like, it's just, we have to consider both sides of things, and that on the other end is a human. It's not just someone you can crap on.
Yeah, exactly. So here I have the is it, oops, it's the wrong thing. I'm gonna get it. There we go. That's what happened when you get rusty at one point. You don't do it for a month, right? You guys can hold that against me. So so either way, so there we go. So that's one article here that I found that's coming from obviously some of you guys are going to say it's Try Hack Me. I have obviously a partnership with Hack the Box, but at the end of the day, the goal is to help you out understanding what's going on. And then it's also coming from a hacking platform. So I'm going to share this into the YouTube chats directly, so you guys can have some information about it, or at least can read it. We had also Four-Way says, well, all the credit monitoring wins. Yeah, like it's regarding probably the comments we had earlier. So yeah, there we go. So if you want to have a read about this one, it's probably going to give you a bunch of different information, also coming from a platform that's out there. That's a nice meme. Yeah, waking up as a user, as a Mac user today. So yeah, you're probably going to get a lot of information about what's going on and their take, and most likely some information coming also from CrowdStrike. Ultimately, we're probably not going to know everything. Are we going to see anybody being fired for this? It's hard to tell again, potentially, but we may never hear about it, right? Or I don't know. Yeah. All we can do here is speculate at this point. So, but that's something very very unfortunate that has just happened there. So yeah, so that's what it takes to bring down the whole country. So a lot of the clients that I've been dealing with, well, I mean, like not a lot, but a couple of the clients I've been dealing with, I've asked them as well, what are their takes about this, and did they learn something about CrowdStrike, right? So some people's going to say, well, okay, so CrowdStrike is something that happened. It's basically like a bug in the software where it pretty much brought down everything, right? The thing is that you have to consider yourself, this is very close to what a ransomware could be. But this one, at least, you know, you can get back into the game, right? It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take money. It's going to take mental health being part of it. But at the end of the day, this is something as well that's going to be that can be very comparable to what an actual ransomware could look like, right? So,
and that's actually huge. Like, one of the things that I'm putting a lot of my mind share, I guess, into these days is resilience. And when you think about it, how educated is your team, or do you have someone who can do the work? Like, because, you know, the CrowdStrike kept saying just reboot, and then eventually, if you can get a network connection, you'll just get the fix. Not everyone could do that. A lot of people couldn't do that. And so there was like a safe boot option. You go into safe mode in Windows, you go and you delete a .sys file, and then you reboot, and it'll be fine. It sounds easy, but like, a lot of people can't even push F8 quickly enough. You know, they don't know they have to push F8 to get into safe mode. As a guy who started after college in a Dell on call center, I can tell you people cannot push F8 quickly enough to get into safe mode. But there was a lot of work that it required to get the fix done. And some people had some really cool fixes, like, you know, Pixie boot or whatever. But what if your team doesn't understand Pixie boot? You know, what if they don't know how to do that? Like, a large part of resilience, especially in stuff like this, like in outages, even if they're not cybersecurity outages, but they're IT outages, or you have to do backup and restore, or you have to do something technical. What if you've outsourced your entire technical team?
Yeah.
What if you have nobody on staff who could do this?
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. And outsourcing this, like, do you think it would have been very good at this point to be able to do it? It doesn't mean that, because the thing is, like, everybody was either outsourcing or trying to figure it out a way. I've seen companies trying to use their employees that have no idea to be able to do it. The other issue was BitLocker as well, that was creating another problem. So, I mean, like, it's hard to be able to say that we're going to outsource, like, no matter what. I mean, like, at this point, at this magnitude, it can be extremely, extremely hard to do with this. But luckily, if we take the words of the CEO of CrowdStrike, apparently, as of like, I think a couple of hours ago, they believe that 97% of the computers have been restored to normal state, which is a good thing. But that's something to keep in mind. What could be one of the things, Steve, we could do to be able to prepare to something like this? Not necessarily 100% this, because obviously the next bug that will happen might be a little bit different. Like, how can we prepare for something like that?
One of the biggest things is simply having a plan. So, like, who do I call? You know what I mean? Like, that's, a lot of people might have just been like, oh, my system's screwed. I'll ping my boss. And it's like, no, like, there should be, you know, do you have a way to create a support ticket? Probably not, because your system's down. But if you have a work phone, you know, you could send an email, create a ticket. They're going to figure it out at some point. Communication strategy. So if you see that big of an outage, like, let's say, for instance, you're running Windows servers, and it's not just your endpoints running, like Windows laptops, like your end users, then, you know, what are you going to do? Because now you have to make sure, okay, do I at least have my stuff backed up? You know, do I have any sort of, like, do I have a hybrid environment where I can just switch everything over to like a cloud workload? Is there a world where I have an image without the CrowdStrike, you know, EDR tool, and I can just roll that out to some people really quick?
Exactly. So one of the things I can tell you is Steve is right. One of the things as well that I could add on that, you have to simulate it. Like, it's good they have a plan, but if nobody knows where the plan is, they're not going to use that plan, right? I already know federal organizations that got like without naming them, got ransomware, and they had a plan, but they never know about it. So they just decided to do ad hoc at that point, and then it was just like off to the races on trying to figure out how to handle this. So that's the main thing you guys need to realize about it, especially if you work into an environment. And then if you work into pen testing and you do these kind of stuff, you might be the one bringing down all the systems around without realizing it. So, I mean, like the likeliness is quite low, but it's still possible to do that depending on what you do. So just be careful with this.
Absolutely. And in communications, right? Like, I one time took out, I think, 10 systems in a proof of concept. I forgot a slash in a command. I ended up killing C Windows System 32. And like one of the guys was a CIO. One of the other guys was like director of security. And one of the things we didn't have in place was like, okay, now how do we communicate this to these people? So from the top down, you need to have some sort of communication strategy. Not just like the plan is great, but part of the plan has to be, okay, something's happening, tell people. Because they restored their systems to factory defaults, whereas all it took was a similar situation, like you had to reboot it, and then even when it went to the black screen, we could fix it remotely. But all that to say is, like, if I think that CrowdStrike did a good job of communicating it and staying in communication, and then having a fix relatively quickly, or someone else finding a fix, I think, relatively quickly.
Yeah.
But it's the communications from the top down is huge. And then, like you said, JF, like you have to test it. Yeah. Otherwise, we have to do the communications. Well, who does the communications?
Yeah.
Oh, they left the company 6 months ago.
Yeah. What's his phone number?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good. Well, it's a good talk. That's very hot. Well, still hot, I would say, like regardless of whatever people thinks, even though it's like a week ago, still very hot, I think. And people are going to talk about it for a while. So good. Perfect. So as we're moving forward, I think people are here for the machines, for the challenges and all that. I think this is a great chat to have, and probably we could have more into a different channel eventually. It could be great to have like some sort of like a podcast and discuss about these things even more in depth. I think that'd be cool. All right. So just as a reminder, if you, any one of you wants to get access to any of the machines, make sure you let us know directly under the server access channel in the Hack the Box Ottawa server on Discord, right? So make sure you let us know there. It might be me. I have some other people once in a while that can help out to be able to do this. So if they're not able to help you out, you have to give me a little bit of time to give you access. Once you get access, you can also do the same steps as us. So it's very interactive as much as possible. I might ask you some questions, and as I go, you should be able to follow along. And if there's any issues whatsoever, you just let me know in the chat or something like that, and then we can keep going with this. So, all right, sounds good. So I don't see anyone requesting access right now. So I guess my goal is going to be to jump on directly on a machine and then go from there. All right. Good. We got 8 people that are joining us. I'm surprised. Happily surprised, because obviously, like when we talk about July and August, we can assume that there's not a whole lot of people that's going to join because of the weather outside. It's nice and all that. Maybe in Ottawa a little bit less, but around the world, it might be a little bit better. Good, perfect. So now we have our machines. We're going to be going through a... hold on. I'm going to try to set it up so you guys can see as much as possible of the screen. The goal is to make sure that it makes sense for everyone there. Good. So we have our machines. I already started. It's called Perfection. I already have my IP address. So some of the things that we need to get. Oh, I see here. I got one person. Give me a second. I'll just create one new code and give it to that person straight up, so we can move along. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. I just want to make sure that everybody has their chances to be able to take part of this. This is the first time for most, for a lot of people sometimes. So just want to make sure they understands how to go. Perfect. So exactly. So I already have my IP address. one of the first step that we need to do is obviously like we're going to start with a terminal. Our terminal here, what we need to do is some sort of reconnaissance. We need to understand exactly what's open on the other machine. This is basically footprinting 101 in this case. We could do also like in some other places. We could go, let's say we go for an enterprise, we could go here onto a Mozilla. Let's shut these one down and then go to, let's say, Shodan.io and then press enter. And then we could do some reconnaissance this way, right? So this one here, we're not actually doing an attack or conducting an attack. We are going to just take a look at, let's say if I do Microsoft.com, right? I'm not even conducting any attack here. This is like basically passive reconnaissance in this case, right? And then we can take a look at all the information, the ports that are open and so on. If we're looking for anybody that has, let's say, a Samba or let's say a Samba. Yeah, let's write Samba here, press enter. That's basically right now, this is a service and we're trying to take a look at what's going on. And we can see some of the Samba that could be like either old or we see some shares that could be very interesting. And I do not recommend to do any of that stuff directly to attack anybody. This is just for educational purpose, especially if you have your own organizations and you're trying to figure that out, right? So keep that in mind. I guess it's a little issue here, but no big deal. But it's just to give you an example here that this could have been done prior to this, especially if you're conducting a pen test on your network. But in our case here, we have our own machine, our own VM, and then we're going to do an nmap. I like to, for me in general, I like to just start with this and trying to figure it out what I'm facing here with basically the top 1,000 ports. It's just a discovery scan for the ports. It's not trying to point or to figure it out, any versioning and so on, because the reason why now I'm doing this is because now I'm going to do my versioning, my scripts and all that stuff. And I'm going to do the exact port, let's say 22 in this case, and then comma, port 80. So instead of doing all the scripts and all that stuff on all the 1,000 ports, so at least the top 1,000 ports, I'm going to do it for port 22 and then port 80 only, right? Because that's all I need. I don't need more than this. Press enter, and then I just wait a little bit here, and we're going to have our results much faster. In a case where you would have, let's say, UDP or the dash capital P and then N, which is not like you consider that every machines in there are online. At that point, it would slow potentially down the system, or at least the scan, I would say, to be able to go through it. So in our case here, we're seeing that we have OpenSSH 8.9 P1. We could also, let's say, copy this, come here just real quick, and then do, let's say, a little research where we do like P1. That was OpenSSH, right? Yeah, OpenSSH, and then we can take a look for release date. So OpenSSH release release date. Press enter here, and then now we can see here that it would have been there. We can try to take a look a little bit when it was released, with which version it was released as well. So we can start doing some investigation about potentially with which how can I say, like operational system. There you go. That could be right in there. So that's one of those things there that can be done to try to find more information if we're quite limited in this case. So in another case, we're not yet limited. We kind of understand that we are going to be welcome. Let's say SSH, we're probably not going to try to brute force this one just yet. But we're going to take a look at this one. So we see we have Nginx, and we have also the weighted grade calculator. Okay, so that's something we're going to take a look at. In our case here, one of the things that we can do is we can do a sudo nano etc and then host, right? And we're going to go change this. So basically speaking, what I want to do is when I enter perfection.htb, I want it to go being redirected there. Oops, I guess I copied something different. I'm going to put my IP right here, right? And then I'm going to do a space, call it perfection.htb in this case. Okay, so then after that, Control C. Yeah, Control X. And then, yes to write it, and then enter to be able to do it. All right, we have somebody else that requests access. Yeah, so I'm getting questions here. Yes, you need to create a new account for the HTTP Enterprise directly. This is a little bit different, but you can also link it with your current profile. So whenever you do the access, or whenever you do hack the machine and so on, you're going to be able to add it to your current profile at the same time. So even though, let's say, you don't have access to that machine right now because this is a retired machine, that's a way to be able to do that. All right, and I see somebody here asking for access. Let me do a reply, sending DM, and then after that, we're going to be able to. I'm going to be able to help you out in a second. Generate, copy. If you have any issues with it, let me know, and then I don't mind helping you out. It's not going to be an issue. But that's probably going to be a little bit like in a few minutes when Steve is going to talk to us. Okay, there we go. Okay, won't be too long. Okay, so try this one instead. There we go. Okay. All right, sounds good. So let's go with this. So now we have information here. We enter the rest of the stuff into our host. So here we're going to do perfection. Perfection.htb. Okay. So as soon as I enter this, we're going to be welcome with one page over here. I'm going to bring it up a little bit bigger. So in our case here, our goal is to find information that could potentially help us understanding what we have to face in front of us, right? So reading text might help us understanding that. So it's a tool to calculate the total grade in a class based on category, scores, and percentage weights. Why we made this, secure student tools. Is there anything in there that could help us out understanding what we are facing here? So far, obviously, we are on the first page, made by Secure Student Tool. Here, that could be interesting, right? So I see here version, I see web brick, and what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put it onto a notepad for now. There was a problem logging missing required information. So we have a couple of people that have issues logging in. So you guys are trying to connect to it. Let me see. Just want to make sure you guys can connect. Might have to do some troubleshooting. But if I have to do some troubleshooting, I may have to keep going a little bit first so we can get ahead. And then after that, I can do some troubleshooting with everyone. Okay. So if we go directly here on the link I gave you and I press enter, okay, so this is the first location that it should be going. And then you're putting your code in there, right? So code, I'm just going to take portion of a code so it doesn't not show and then I do not steal it from everyone. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to create a new code. So I'm not going to take it from anyone because there's actually people that were able to get in with the one I just gave you guys. Generate a new code. Okay, and then if I take it here and put it there, should be a redeem voucher. So enter email. So now this should be working, right? In this case, it should not be an issue. So I'm not too sure. Maybe it could be your browser that could have a problem. I would check it out. So I'm going to say try another browser. And like, sorry, I'm doing a direct message, DM. Okay, all right, let's go back here. Let's close this one because we don't need this. All right, so I have information about WebBrick 1.7.0. So if I do a well, we're going to keep going. That's right. That's what I wanted to do. So we're going to keep going, right? And go a little bit around and trying to find other information that could potentially help us out. So we see we have 2 other tabs. I don't think there's anything else. So there's about us. So Tina Smith could be interesting, right? Because this is basically potentially the username of a of one of the account in there. So if I go back here onto my this one, I have, oops, that's what happened when you go from Mac and PC pretty much all the time. All right, let's go back here. So we pasted here. Is there anything in there? Tina is a computer science major at Acme University. Some ideas, secure tools. So Wiz. We have Susan Miller over here. So we're going to copy that again and put it here because we never know, right? So all that information, obviously we could just retain it in our head and try to see if there's anything, but we're not sure. So it might be a little bit easier for us to get it right away. So a professor of computer science, Miller, sponsored the creation. Okay. So she sponsored the creation there. Astina Passions Project. She is the main coordinator of Bruce. So here, but hasn't delved into secure coding too much. So we can probably assume that there is potentially something in there in the coding for this website that could be a problem for the organization, or at least their organization. We're going to go here, which seems to be the tool that they've been talking about, right? So we have some information here. Let's take a look. We can call it, I don't know, math, grade, I don't know, 70, weights. It could be, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to put it at 20%, I guess. Let's say French, because I'm French. I cannot even write French, I guess. 65, and then let's put another 20. We can probably put, I don't know, math 2. Let's just keep going like this. Probably going to be easier this way. 85, and then another 20. Oh, I see I can put NA. Might be just easier to put NA. NA, N/A, and then it says 0, and then 0. N/A, 0, and then 0. So what is it going to do? Click on submit. Gives us information. Oh, I guess those 3 at 60%. It's not 100%. So it's looking for something. So here, if I do, I don't know, like I do this. We're going to do again a. Let's try to just fit it up again, but whoops, making it super easy for us to just keep going, because we're probably getting, maybe the best thing would be to put it into Burp Suite. So for those that don't know what Burp Suite is basically a software that will basically act as a proxy as I'm going through this. We're going to put 100% to make it go through. In this case, we have Burp Suite that's up there. Yeah, I should have. Yeah, so here, what's interesting from 4away, it says the About page tells us the dev team is inexperienced too. Subtle hint, but could be important. Exactly. Good points. All right, good. Let's change this one. That's what I should have put. There we go. All right, next. Let's go to start. Could be cool at one point if you want to join us 4away over here into those meetups once in a while. All right, so we're going to go here in proxy. We have intercept is on, right? And then what we're going to do is intercept the page whenever I hit submit. It's going to go there. So if I click here, this is Foxy Proxy. And then I'm just going to go to burp. If you have other versions, there's, let's say, Kali Linux, you just download it, install it. You may need to do a couple of things to be able to make it work. In our case, or at least my case right now, I'm using Polebox from Hack the Box. And it's easy enough to just like start it and get it done, right? So as you can see here, I'm using the cloud to be able to do that. If you're at your parents' house and you have basically just access to internet and you have a computer that's not even powerful, like to do a bunch of stuff like VMs and so on, you can just log on to Hack the Box, get a pull box, and then start hacking right away. You don't need to do anything else. It's the same thing with Academy whenever you need to do some exercises, like hands-on exercises. So in our case now, we're going to send this over there. I'm going to click submit, and we shall see what happened there. We're going to see that Burp Suite was able to intercept what we've sent over there. And because I want to be able to play with it a little bit, I'm going to send it to repeater. So I do right click in the back of the screen there and click on repeater over here. So once this is done, it's going to go here into this tab, repeater. It might be a little bit small. I hope not too much. Obviously, this is sometimes like something that's not, yeah, it should be good. Yeah, if you have any issues with the size of the screen, let me know. I'm going to try to change it, but I think right now it should be fine. And yeah, so basically now we see all the stuff we just entered. So this is the page we are on. This is basically category 1, which is right now here, the apostrophe, right? That's the one or the single quote, I should say, that have been used and converted into URL encoded, right? So percentage 27, for example, if I do Control C to copy it and I go to decoder, can come here, right? And just do a decode as URL. And then you're going to see this is the same thing. We can do the same thing reversely if we wanted to do something else, right? So basically speaking, just to give some people some idea, if I copy the whole thing over here and then I go here into decoder, I could just paste it there and then encode as URL. And now we would see that whole same page onto one long line. There's also a way to be able to change them, like if you're used to base 64, right? So it'd be almost the same thing that you can do and put it in base 64. And then obviously we need to decode that later on if you want to see exactly what's going on over here. So that's something to keep in mind. So in our case here, we're going to keep going with what we have, and we're going to take a look at what we're going to get, right, as a return. So I click send, and now I'm going to go a little bit down the page and trying to see what are we getting back. So I see what percent. It's probably a little bit lower. I see malicious input blocked. Okay, so that's interesting. So this code here, or this specific message we're getting, this is something I'm interested in, right? So if I start playing and then keep pushing codes over there, I want to be able to see this code, this message right away. So if I paste this malicious, it's going to look for that. If I go and click on the cogwheel over here and I click on auto scroll to match when text change, right? We're going to get there straight up as long as there is a code change in this case, right? So right now we can play a little bit around, right? We can do, let's say, a test. I could send it over there. Maybe do this afterwards. Could do a double quote as well in there. Brings up over here. There's a bunch of stuff we could do and trying to find out what could be going through. And in this case, it seems that there is some issues with that. One of the things that can be used for sometimes like filtering and so on, it's like a new line. So we could try a new line in this case and trying to see if we can get something to go through. So a new line, do we have, can we do it in decoder? I want to try to show you, like, I know what it is, a new line directly as like by heart, but can I just do that? Okay, so maybe a new line would work, not decode, but encode as URL. There we go. So basically what I've done here is I was on the first line here, I press enter, and that gave me a new line. Okay, so that's basically percentage 0 alpha, like lowercase, and that's exactly what we're going to be using in this case to be able to do a new line. Is there, okay, I just want to make sure I'm not missing any messages. Okay, we're good. All right, so we're gonna go back here into repeater and then have a little bit of fun with it. But then the other thing I'm keeping in mind as well is we had WebBrick. That's something we should probably investigate as well too. So if I do percentage here 0A and I do I don't know, test 1, 2, 3, is that going to go through? So it seems that we don't have anything that's created an issue. Where is it at? Yeah, it did not write anything. So it seems that probably it has gone through. Okay. Now we don't know exactly which, like what the website is coming from. Some of the, like couple of times what I do is I'm trying to see, like I don't know exactly how the whole thing is done, but we can come here and then take a look. I see here, this is perfection.htb. A lot of times if we don't see anything, I could try to do an index.php and then try to see if that's going to come out as PHP. Oh, interesting. Sinatra doesn't know this, did he? Try this index.php, hello world. Okay. We could try, we know it's supposed to be a Linux, so we can try maybe ASPX, sorry. Does not work either. What about HTML? So it seems that none of them seems to be working. So maybe WebBrick has something to do with it. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to take a look at WebBrick, and we're going to do some investigation to try to find what it is exactly. So I'm going to paste it here and document WebBrick. Can probably click on this. It's WebBrick here. I saw Ruby something. Was it WebBrick? Ruby doc. That's what I saw. Programming Ruby writers. We keep going a little bit down. There's not much else. If there's anything under access logs. Is that something there that could be somewhat interesting here? If we know the language, we can probably just ask it. WebBrick language has been written in Ruby. So it has been written in Ruby. Standard/HTTP, HTML. Okay. So that's the information here. We're kind of interested on understanding exactly how it's being done. Because the thing is, if we are like I don't need this. If I need to know a little bit further down the road exactly what's going on with this, I might be able to go around what's happening there, right? So if I do a code, what kind of code could be used in there? Or maybe could we do, let's say, WebBrick? Can we do, well, we could do probably 1.7.0 exploit. I'm just going to remove the 0 just in case. And then we can take a look. That's 2008. Probably not. Maybe I should take a look when it was released. Released date. So 1.7 to 2020. So if it's a 2008 exploit, I can tell you that's probably not going to be good. There's no point for us to go for this. Then we're going to go here back and WebBrick 1.7 and exploits. Go back over here. Do we have anything that could be interesting for us to? Oh no, that's 2009. So CVE 2008 1891. So we don't really care about it. 2008. This one is before the release. Well, this one is HTTP perfection. So we don't want to take a look at write-ups. All right. So there's not much here that we're getting on exploits, right? So that could be somewhat not bad, but not that interesting in this case. But we know at least we got Ruby into the mix. The next step that we could take a look at is, are we able to get like let's say a SSTI into the mix there. We know it's like the information that we were just able to gather. So let's do SSTI injection. There we go, injection from Hacktricks. I like this guy. A lot of times he has exactly what I'm looking for. So that's another thing too that works sometimes with those type of servers. Obviously, like most of the time, what you need to think about is like the more you practice, the more you're going to realize or you're going to remember these things may happen or may not happen, right? So one of those things here, like the squiggly, or whatever the case, however you want to call it, could be interesting there. So we're going to do a copy and give it a try and see if it works in this case. Keep in mind, we are working with, currently we are working in Hack the Box. We're into an environment where it's controlled, so that shouldn't be an issue for us to give it a couple of tries and so on. If you're with a client and you're conducting a pen testing session here, engagement, I should say, you may want to refrain yourself from trying everything, right? So in our case here, we click and press on this. I'm just going to re-highlight it and then press Control U. Okay, so it does not have anything to URL encode. If you're not sure about the URL encoding, we can take a look. URL encode as you type, convert URL encode. So you can see here, URL encode key characters. So Control plus U, that's exactly what I've done. And then it seems that there's nothing in there that's very important. Okay, so let's go take a look. Do we have something here? So it seems that there is no return again, and nothing says it's malicious. So probably this one doesn't work. Okay, let's try something else. There's another one that we can try. I know approximately how it looks like. Are we going to find it? So I know it start with a, start kind of with this and this. We're going to get something that's going to work. Okay. Like that here, but it's divided by 0. I'm probably going to do the times 0 here, like similar to what we see here above. I know this one sometimes works, so we're going to give it a try. We're going to highlight this again. Control V. I save it there. There's something a little bit off with it. Let's see. What's the issue and why is it doing this? Oh, maybe it's the /. No, it's not the /.
I think it's because you don't have a space after your percent.
Oh yeah,
greater than.
Greater than is potentially that's. Yeah. No, there is a space. I'm gonna do a Control U, so probably gonna bring it back together. There we go. So that's what it is. Beauty. Because there was a space that's not natural for this type of system. So by highlighting this, press Control U, it basically filled it up with a %25. No, sorry, a plus. The space is a plus over here in our case. I know it's super small for you guys, but the plus here is a space, and then %25 will represent the percentage sign, the modulo or whatever you want to call it. Sometimes like people understand it better this way. So I'm going to hit send. And then we're going to go and then go down again and see if we have anything that seems to be doing anything here. And do we have, I got 49 here. Is that what we are looking for? And I got test 2. So if I change this, I don't know, tests HTB or Ottawa. Let's put Ottawa in there. There you go. And then I'm going to do a send, and let's do a 8 instead. So we're going to see a difference into the number there and probably a different name. And we can probably just put here Ottawa instead. Right. So send, and then Ottawa 56. There we go. So it seems that we have some sort of like interaction with the system there on being able to do something because we were able to get 56 in here. Okay, good. Good. So now we have Ruby. We know we have that. So let's say, for example, right now we don't know much about Ruby. How can we try to utilize Ruby to our advantage? something we could do is, let's say Ruby, let's say how to execute command, maybe function. I don't know. That's something like this we can try to take a look at. Percentage command. I know a lot of times there is something called system that we could use to be able to help out. The other thing too is, like, for some people, they're not sure maybe what we can do, right? With the AI type stuff, we could have, let's say, chat openai.com. I think it's that. Yeah, that's what it is. And then I just do a control paste function. Are we going to get something interesting in there? Potentially yes, potentially no. This one here, I like that. That's the one I was actually thinking about, ls-l. Is there anything that we could get that was going to say execute? Maybe execute could be another one. So you can see here, like, if we don't know exactly how Ruby works, this is something that could help us out understanding, or at least guide us into the right way. In some cases, sometimes you can just like fix your code just with AI. And not that you should rely on that heavily, but this is something you should consider sometimes, like if you need to. All right, so one of the things that we're going to do here, puts command successful. So, okay, the method execute a command in the subshell and return true if the command was successful, false otherwise. It doesn't capture the command output, but it can print it directly to the console. Okay, so here we're going to go back, and maybe I should put it here so we make sure that we have something written, and it's going to make a little bit more sense as we're moving through. So now I'm going to paste this, and we have the system LSL. So if I do ID, technically speaking, from what we got into the web page, into ChatGPT, they changed it. They have the mini now. That's brand new. I didn't think they had mini. It's 3.5 before they had. So I know that with the forum they had at one point, they were talking about bringing it up to everyone, but it was still 3.5 for all free users. So now it's good. I'm happy they have that, or at least for any free user. So what we can recall over here, if we read this, if we do this and it works, we should have a true, right? True statement. That's basically what it should say. If we don't have true, it's because it doesn't work. So let's copy that and go back to Burp Suite. And what I'm looking at now is changing the 7 times 8, right? So I'm just going to go in between the two. That's exactly where I want to put my code, because everything else should be good to go. When we saw the 49, that was the 7 times 8, or sorry, 49, 7 times 7, or 7 times 8, which was 56. So I'm going to highlight this again, and anything that's supposed to be changed, if I press Control U, is going to be changed, and it's not. So I'm assuming it should be good to go. Ottawa says true. There we go. So it seems that our command is working. Let's try something else again. Let's say I'd like to be able to get something on that machine. There's multiple ways we can get this. I see some comment I should take a look at here. To be elite, or to beat elite Actrix. There you go. Actrix as a fuzzing string on the same web page under detection. I always use that one because it supposedly can detect an SSTI regardless of the template engine. Interesting. That could be good. Like if you guys have some tricks, tips and tricks, at one point that could be good to have some of the folks to come online and demonstrate your stuff. So if that's something you're interested in, just like contact either Steve or I, whatever method you want, either on LinkedIn or directly in Discord, and then we can have a chat with that. That could be cool. I have a second comment here. Those polyglots are really useful, but only as far as detecting whether or not there is an SSTI. Once we get a positive result from that, we'll still need to narrow it down. Exactly. Good. Perfect. So you guys are having a great chat there. I love it. Perfect. So we have ID here, and some of the things that we could do, okay, it depends on what we want to actually achieve. We have minimal information about how we're going to be able to do that. and I could try to see if I can call myself, right? In this case here, we could do, let's say, an echo, not an echo, but a ping directly to my machine and see if I'm able to intercept the ping, right? And that could be something else, something like that. I could do, let's say, also a curl and trying to find out if, let's say, for example, I go to 1010, whoops, I think it's, I got it up 1544, 44, and I'm going to put it on port 81 because port 80 is already used. And then let's call it again Ottawa. Okay, so we know there's no trick here. Control U once more to make sure that all the spaces or anything like that that needs to be URL encoded will be encoded in this case. So let's give it a try with this. But in our case, what we're going to do now is, I need a new shell, and I'm going to call it. I'm going to do a sudo nc lvnp. So netcat listening for L, V for verbose, N for do not do a reverse DNS, and then P for port. We are on port 81 in this case. So I press enter, and we are going to listen to that port in our case. All right, so let's do a send and see if we can get, oh, there we go. So it seems that, do we have Ottawa? Yes, we have Ottawa. So it seems that we're able to dial back outside, and we can confirm that we have some sort of information out there. Okay, so that's good news in this case. I'm going to kill it because I don't need to keep going with this. It was just to figure it out if we can dial directly back to our machines with that specific port without going too much in depth. All right, so now let's go back to this and bring up the page. What's called again? Oh, I got 2 pages. I'll just get rid of this one, so we only have 1. So for those who don't know, revshells.com, I believe, great tool to use. Most of the time we have what we are looking for, but I'm not sure if, maybe the SH would work. Can try that. Can probably try the bash directly and see how it goes, but either way, 1544, and let's put it back on port 81. Okay, so now I go at the bottom. We're going to do a copy. So see, I just enter all my information here on top, and it just changed everything at the bottom. If I would need to do, let's say, MSF Venom, I could actually do that. Do, let's say, a curl output or wget, put it exactly where I want it, and then after that, do a like call that specific thing. So it's or that specific binary. So it's feasible to be able to play around a little bit and then have fun with that, right? So we just need to think about all these stuff. Not everything is easy, and sometimes like a lot of tries are going to be required if we want to be able to move further down the road. Okay, so something like this we could try. Then after that, what could be useful? So those things, I don't know if it's going to work directly. So okay, let's give it a try. Not there. Whoops. Let's go back here. So this is the code I want to put in. Okay, this is what I'm changing in here. So inside there, what I want to do. So what I'm wondering is, can I do, let's say, a bash that goes here, right? And then we're going to change the inside. I'm not too sure if that's going to work, but we were able to get ID here, so we might be able to get this. Okay, so is there any conversion sometimes? Oh, I could have choose bash. There we go. Bash is here. That would have made better. URL encode, base64 encode. So it's feasible to do a base64 too. But for now, I'll see. The whole URL encoding is done. Okay. Sometimes we can just accelerate our process and get things done a little bit faster. So now we know we can dial back to our system. So if I do this, highlight the whole thing in the middle here, and then Control U. And do I have my terminal? Not my terminal? Yeah. Okay. This one, let's get it ready just in case. I don't know if that's going to work. Ottawa Falls. So see, it does not work. What else could we do? What else could we do? We can try to maybe encode it a little bit more than this and try to do something else that would make a little bit more sense. So I'm going to erase this for now. Let's go back over here. We have our UL encode, but we have base 64 that we could technically do. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking about. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do echo. Okay, so echo, or that's something we could try as well. If I do Control V, and then now I'm just going to expand this a little bit more. And then now what we can probably do is a base 64-D to decode the base 64, and then we pipe it to bash. So basically speaking, if we take a look at what we've created, yeah, that's a little bit, okay, let's remove base 64. This is basically what we want to do, okay? So by entering the echo and then the string over here, which is base 64, we are pushing it and then hoping that it's not going to get stopped directly. And then once it gets onto the machine, we're hoping that it will decode it, and then after that, run it through bash. Okay, so that's basically what we're going to try to do in this case. So let's do copy C, then go back again to Burp Suite, and then put our stuff in there. Now we already know there's some stuff in there that are probably not going to be acceptable. Control U. There's a couple spaces and so on. So let's give it a try, but let's first take a look at this guy. Ooh. So see, we tried curl, wouldn't work. Potentially like getting another code in there would have probably worked for us. I'm talking about, let's say, binary from MSF Venom, and then do a curl onto our machine and then port it over there and then do a schmod and all that stuff. Potentially could have worked. That's another thing too. We can experiment a little bit later, or maybe while Steve does his magic with the blue stuff, maybe I can give it a try, get it done, and then show it to you a little bit afterwards on how it's being done. But that's something that can be like we can think about. We have to think outside the box. We have to figure it out, all the stuff that because one method may not work, another method may work, right? So we have to be very flexible with this. All right, so in our case here, what I tend to do, and this is something that you guys can like super easily access directly on Discord. You have a Linux related channel. It's a little bit lower down from the general channel that we have there. And under the Linux channel, I have my method I'm just going to show you right now. Is basically now I'm going to copy my Python script. Boy, it's easily said, right? So it's just to elevate my my machine over here. Oh, is there any issues? Did it crash? ID? Is it? I guess it probably crashed. Okay, so the beauty about this is it's just easy as cancel and then send it again. The machine. Machine is still on, so that's not an issue. I still have 17 hours, so that's not a problem with that one. This works. Okay, let's do a send again. I guess maybe we need to play a little bit around with it. Still going to port 81, should. Port 81, yeah, so that should not be a problem. Maybe we're going to change the port and see how it goes. Maybe there's just a little issue with this, or the machine didn't like it for some reason. But that's our code there. That's fine. So Burp Suite here, hit cancel. Okay. Are we still able to let's say, let's do a this one. Okay, let's do again a ping and paste it there and see if it's still interesting. seems that it died as soon as I got there. So you see, I mean, we created the new CrowdStrike issue. All right, let's give it a second and then see how it goes. If it doesn't work, I'm going to troubleshoot it while Steve is going to give us some information. But we got foothold at this case in this point, right? So obviously this is something that's out of my control. Yeah, we're not getting anything back. And the machine for me, it's saying that it's still good to go. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a restart on that machine. I don't know exactly why this is happening. Or maybe I should do nmap. Is it going to give us anything? Yeah, see, it was fast earlier and it was giving me IP addresses. Ports. So, all right. So I'm going to show you the little magic later on. In the meantime, I'm going to let you guys jump in with the great Steve over here. All right. So, Steve, it's you to go through.
All right. Sweet. So, yeah, same format as previous times. We'll just walk through a little bit of the IPDRR, NIST CSF, look at some of the phases JF has gone through and figure out how we could not let him do so much. So in the beginning, identify where you might have issues. One of the big things is everything that JF is doing right now is stuff that we should be doing to ourselves. When it comes to having a pen testing team or a red team or whatever, even just, you could call it vulnerability validation, where you detect vulnerabilities and then you perform some sort of an attack to validate that, yes, this system actually is vulnerable, or no, we had some sort of countermeasure that blocked it. So all I've shown here is like there is a plugin for Tenable, so for Nessus or their web app scanner that does detect SSTI. I'm sure that the other vendors have that as well. Just kind of just the basics, right? So I kind of beat this to death on most of the chats. Just understanding, what you've got running, how you're doing things, and keeping abreast of what could possibly go wrong, and then trying to fix it as quickly as possible. For instance, a little bit of OPSEC, a little bit of operational security here. The web developer of our team, blah, 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 but she hasn't delved into secure coding too much. Okay, well, this is a site where I'm going to stop and try and play on, right? Because, if they're not into secure coding, that means that they probably don't necessarily understand how I could get in. And, the fact that they've left a banner that says, this is powered by WeBrick. Great. Well, I'm going to try and brick your WeBrick, essentially. It gives us a lot of information, or too much information, let's say, maybe not a lot, but more than we should be giving up just by putting it on our website, right? So that's a really good place to start. Just let's dial back. When JF did the nmap, we could see the Nginx version. Maybe the Nginx version is vulnerable. Well, you can use something called no tokens. It's just a config switch that will stop it from showing you all of that information. So it's like, you can call it security through obscurity if you want to, and technically it is, but it's just a layer, right? If you rely solely on security through obscurity, you're not going to get anywhere. People will still find out. So once he, figured out, okay, it's Ruby, it's WeBrick, now I can start looking up strings to send and figure out how I can make it spit out the information I want, or grant me the access that I want. We want to stop him from getting some sort of a foothold, right? So on one side of things, there's hygiene, right? So one of the problems with these template engines is when you, depending, so there's logic less and logic full. I don't know what the other side would be called. I guess normal, probably. They'll take the logic from the back end, and they'll try and use that within the front end, because the templating is really just for, here's how I want my HTML to look, right? If you use logicless templating framework, then it takes out a lot of the requirement for sanitization, I should say. All it's doing is saying, okay, this is what I want to see. And so each of these things will be a variable, but it's not going to actually permit someone to out or input, commands, let's say. And then another thing would be leverage the sanitize function in Ruby. So I'm not a coder, but I've done most of my work in PHP or Python, and there's always a sanitize function. So Ruby is no different. You have your input text. This is what I want my input text to be. I'm going to take this parameter, but I'm going to sanitize it. And then the template takes the input text. So if you were to send some sort of input, the way JF injected the ID command, well, that's all going to come here, and it's going to be sanitized. So it's not going to let that command run. The next step is once you've got your web app config. So like you've got your layered defense, right? You've got your security through obscurity, or your OPSEC, where you're not showing too much under the kimono, so they say. Then you've got your web app config on the other side that, you're not letting people from the outside do a whole lot on the server, or you're at least sanitizing their input. And then you've got your protection against attacks. So web app firewall. Essentially, it's just a firewall that sits in front, or a system that sits in front of your web server. It looks at all the requests that come in, and it has, a signature base or a rule base that says, if I see something like, the greater than %, less than %, I'm going to block that as some sort of a template injection. And we can look a little bit at that over here. So down here at the bottom of it, the network detection piece. So this could be on your IDS or IPS. This could be on your WAF. I've got a Wazoo sample here, but essentially you're looking for, you see the greater than, less than with percentage, but you've also got the double braces here. So you're looking for any of that kind of stuff, or the $ braces. This will help you identify. So like, for example, the hack tricks fuzzing string. If you're trying to fuzz my web server to look for some sort of an SSTI opportunity, I've got a detection for that in place. So I'll notice hopefully all of them. And again, this is just for Ruby, so I guess it's not necessarily platform agnostic, but
and it's always hopefully.
Sorry?
Right? It's always hopefully, because obviously the thing that you have to consider, I mean, like not you necessarily, but anybody else that's listening in as well, is there's ways to be able to go around those protections, right? I just showed you right now on the fact that I did a base 64, right? That was one of the things there that if it's not done properly or something like that, it might have an issues. And sometimes you're going to put all the protection in place and it's still not going to work, right? So these things are just going to happen. It's bound to happen at one point. You just need to figure it out the best way to minimize that risk. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's right. Like, so essentially what you're doing with your IPS and your WAF and all this kind of stuff is you're trying to get rid of the low-hanging fruit. If JF wants out my crown jewels, I have to at least make it hard for him. I want to make sure that if he could very well send anything in this regex here, he could send that or encoded in base 64. I might have a rule that I can decode, but maybe I'm not looking for that. Maybe I'm simply looking for the raw text, maybe URL encoded. So there are ways, there used to be ways where you could always send across multiple packets to try and get through an IDS. Darshan, defense in depth.
100%. This is just one piece, right? So like as I said earlier, like you have the OPSEC piece where don't put your version number in the banner. Don't let your Nginx give up too much information. And then you have, okay, now I'm going to configure my web apps so that I'm going to sanitize that input. So even if it gets through and gets decoded, hopefully my app will have the protection in place. But maybe I can even stop before the app. I can block this with my IPS or with my WAF. And so at the top here, my WAF, this is like an example of just the Nginx log, right? So I can see in the log that, okay, I've got the %0A, I've got the open bracket with %sign. Okay, so it looks like someone's trying to inject something, like do an SSTI, right? So they're trying to do the server-side template injection. Now I can work on that. That's where, essentially I build my signature from, right? If I see the traffic coming through, then I can build that signature. If I start seeing stuff come through on a weird port or that may look like it's causing one of my systems to run a command, such as this whole, interactive bash shell, creating that reverse shell or connecting to that listener, then I can use that as my detection as well. So there's multiple detections, not necessarily just the connection with the text, but again, there's there's a lot of work that goes into defending against an attack like this, even if it does sometimes look simple. I'm just going to go to the comment here. But what if some mandate requires to share which software is used while build software? Yeah, so the SBOM requirement, it's all over the place now. But the whole, if I share the software that I'm using, I covered JF up with that comment. Here we go. If I share,
you like it. Yeah, it's trying to hide my face. Yeah, the stream looks better this way.
Yeah, did the world get a little better? No, just kidding. But yeah, so I agree 100%. So my answer to that, not the answer, my answer to that is there will always be what ifs and one-offs. So if I have to show everyone what software I'm using in an SBOM, and that's not the same as putting it on the website saying, oh, I'm using WordPress 1.6, right? But at the same time, if I have to, the reason why you have to show the software bill of materials, the SBOM, is because it basically divulges, are you using crap libraries or vulnerable libraries? And that's what they're worried about. That's why they have that requirement. And so the key is to try and shore up those vulnerabilities as quickly as possible. And yes, even if someone says, oh, I see they're using this software, there will always be vulnerabilities at some point. Someone will always find something, right? So we're just doing the best we can, making sure we get as many layers between the attacker and our crown jewels as possible. And these are just a few, but I definitely I hear your point and I feel your pain. Let's see. So now that JF got access and he decided he's gonna, so I see you used port 81 this time, but in a lot of the write-ups, it's 4444.
Yeah, which is the most common one, and then most of the devices are blocking port 4444 because it's one that we know by default. For example, Metasploit is going to use a lot of times, or other devices. Some other people start using LEET because, let's say, IPsec is also using 1337, right? So got to be careful. One of the reason, and I'm going to say one of the reason why I'm going to use a low port, it's because I like it to resemble as, let's say, a port that seems to be normal. For example, I might be using 53, which is DNS. So 53 is a very good port to try to not necessarily hide everything in there, but at least to kind of potentially just go under the shadow where you're not going to be seen straight up, because people think that 53, there's only one thing that can be going through that.
Absolutely. And that's, that's where, using an off port, not a non-ephemeral port 4444, that gives me the advantage, right, as the defender, because I can say, what the hell? We don't use that port. And like the big one here is, oh, it looks like my web server, oh, that says HomeNet, it should say web server in the actual alert, but my web server is going to an external network. It's creating the connection because flow is not established. Why is that? That's a red flag to me. Unless, it could be, might be an update site or something like that, but you would have should have some sort of rule in place that says, I know this is going to happen. But you put 53 in here and it might just look like a DNS request. So then we have to do a little bit more examination. Like I could have also put in the content of the request. So if the content of the request had bash in it, then, oh, I'm giving someone access to reverse shell. So there are a lot of ways to do your detections here as well. But this is how we try to catch what it is that the attacker is doing, right? So obviously this is a snort rule. You could do this with Wazoo or a commercial product, and you just essentially you want to look for, and this is just the network side of things, but you can actually look for the content, which might be the word bash or something like that. And again, you may have to look for it in an encoded form. And that is what I've got so far.
Yes, that is it for now. All right, my turn to cover your face. Yeah, do I have a comment long enough? Yeah, I can put this one again. There you go. All right, sounds good. So yeah, great. I mean, the blue team's so hard. It's hard. We're gonna say we red team. It's hard too, but different. You probably heard it many times before. I'm probably not gonna teach you anything right at this point, but keep remembering about the fact that, let's say, the red team needs to be right once. The blue team needs to be right all the time. Oh, that's all right. There's no issues with non-comments. I don't mind it at all.
No, that's good.
No, that's fine. So, but again, this is the main thing. Blue team has to be right 100% of the time. And it all depends on what the red team is actually doing, right? Because if the red team, they have no knowledge about how to get there and how to do it, they might not be able to get it done, right? Yeah, and four-way, I mean, I know, oh, it's okay. Now it's showing. Oh, I guess I clicked.
I tried that at the same time as you did.
All right. So four-way, I know you've been working on something very interesting, and that could be cool to be able to show some of the projects if you're willing to talk about it, which without going in depth, there is some sort of like SIEM included with, I think, an IPS in there. Again, I'm not going into the details about which software, unless he wants to talk on the channel there, but he has something that he's working that's very, very cool, that if he can share eventually with us, that could be a very good learning stuff for everyone. Yeah, no, I'm not talking about now. No, no, today is fine, but eventually it'd be cool to be able to show this up to everyone if you have time, because obviously this is a big project. And I mean, it's a lot of time that he has put in place to be able to make it work. So, and that's basically speaking, like there is attacks being conducted on a specific server, and then he's able to capture the information that goes through and then see exactly what's happening there. And then there's some attacks we're calling scripts and then trying to run them afterwards. So it's very interesting to see, like, it's basically like you can create your own honeypot and just capture those attacks and then analyze them and figure out exactly what people are trying to do in this case, right? Depending on what you have in place. So that's very cool. And I thought it was very interesting what you had to show me not a long time ago. So Good, perfect. So now that we have done that, we're basically going to do some sort of like a lateral move in this case, sort of, right? And we're going to see how far we can go. I did a reset on this machine. So as you can see here, it should be still working. So we're good to go. We're at the same spot where we were before. There is some of the stuff that we can probably give it a try a little bit later on and then see how it goes, like this one. That could be something we can do probably after this presentation, just in case it takes too long. I want to make sure that I respect everybody's time in this case here. Again, if you want to be able to do what we are currently doing in this case, just make sure you join our Discord channel and then request access, and then we're going to be able to provide you access directly to the enterprise server, which is provided by Hack the Box. Right, everything is free. This machine is retired. Normally, you need a VIP subscriptions to be able to access it, and in our case here, we're offering it for free. So make sure that you let us know into the server access channel into our Discord server. All right, so this we're going to do it later on. Let's go back here. So you see here, I didn't change anything in this case, because basically speaking, everything was good. And as you can see here, my target, perfection.htb, is the same one. So I'm not changing this. The only thing I needed to change in here, was it done probably in this guy? Yeah, so I needed to change the etc host to the new IP address, right? So that's the only thing. And then everything else was fine. I did not need to change anything else. If, for example, it would have been an IP address, I could have just changed this and then changed it to the IP address that was there, and then push my payload again and get it done. All right. So what I was saying earlier is if I go to the Linux related channel, there is something in there where I'm going to be able to do pretty much everything from there, and then basically elevate my what's it called? Elevate my terminal to a pretty much a fully effective terminal, and then we're going to be able to move even more further and do everything, and do even like Control C, because in this case, I guess I can show you right now Control C what it does, right? So I mean, like for some of the people that don't really know, because this is not a stable, like a fully completed shell and all that stuff, like an SSH and so on. If I do Control C, that's what happened, right? I'll show you afterwards what can happen there if. There we go. I'm going to paste this here again. So later on, I'm going to do a Control C. I'm going to be able to do up. I'm going to be able to use my arrows and all of that without having to struggle too much around. So I'm just copying my text over here. I have to do Control Z to put it in background. Okay, I paste my stuff over here, press enter, gives me some information, 24 and 142. I copy my last text over here, paste there, press enter. And now it's asking me for the rows, which is 2, 4, right? So we see here it aligns with that, press enter. And then 142, which is the columns, right? 1, 4, 2. And then I press enter. So now, welcome to an actual fully effective shell where I can do whatever I want. I can press Control C and I'm still in the same location, right? I can press up a couple of times, probably not a whole lot of times, but you can see here, I can do a bunch of stuff without any issues. And over here, you can see that it pretty much died, right? So, but in this case here, I should be able to do an ID and I'm still in the same location. So basically speaking, now I stabilize my shell to be able to do almost whatever I want. However, if it crashes for whatever reason, there is a problem, I'm going to need to kill, basically like get out of this terminal and then do it again, because otherwise nothing will work, right? So this is what we do. Again, if you need to get access to those script, it is available directly under the Linux related channel under our Discord server, the Ottawa, Hack the Box Ottawa Meetup server. Okay, good. So in our case here, what we're going to do is LSLA. We're going to start investigating and maybe see there's main. So let's do a cat on main Ruby. Oh, you see I hit tab as well. And that's another thing that's being completed. So very, very useful. I can go up. Do we see any information that could ERB file, view index ERB? Do we see anything that could be interesting? You can see like over here, that's probably all the stuff that's being done in the back to try to figure it out if there is any stuff. So for category 1, this is probably, yeah, elif. So that's probably what's looking for. If there's anything else beyond that, it's probably going to give you a result of malicious input blocked, right? So that's the whole system. That's the whole thought behind that, if you're wondering about it. But it doesn't seem that we have anything interesting. So LSLA, LSLA. We can do maybe LSLAR to take a look recursively throughout all the pages. That could be maybe interesting. Maybe these things could be interesting because it gives us a little bit more details potentially. That's that. What we can take a look at, I'm going to show it to you here. We have cat users. That's basically just showing that I can be, I am user right now. Am I fully elevated 100%? Depends, right? So it's hard to tell. If I do a sudo-l, I need still our password. I'm not going to be able to do anything. Control C, because we're not going to be able to enter the password. Oh, sudo as admin successful. How about 0 bytes? So there's probably nothing in there. SQLite history, and then C migration. City migration. I hit tab to be able to complete that. I said LSLA, and I see a pupil path credentials. Could be interesting this. So what is that file? I mean, we see here, this is SQLite 3 database. Let's reading using SQLite version. Okay, do we have, let's say SQLite. If I hit tab, okay, 3 is there. How does it work? Let's do a help. Is there anything that can, options and file name? Do we really need to put options there? Print command, append, batch. So it's not going to be easy, right? Most of the time, like if you take a look at one command, you may not know exactly how to do it. So let's just do this. So now SQLite 3, we're able to get into the actual database. Here, we don't know how it works. Most of the time, like if I do, let's say, show tables, is it going to give me something? It says error. Show databases. It does not work. So if I do .help, we can see some of the commands that are available here for us to be able to play around. I should probably make it a little bit bigger. Okay. So here, what else do we have? We have databases, list names and files to attach in database. Okay, that's not necessarily what we're looking for. Well, we have quit for later on. .quit, Excel, log. We have .show the current value for various settings. That's not exactly what I'm looking for. Do we have tables? Okay, tables is there. List names of tables matching like pattern tables. I don't know. Let's see if I type in. Are we able to? Okay, there we go. Tables. Press enter. I see users. Was there a select that we can use? That's my question. Select. Because normally in other databases, this is how we're going to do it. Select star from users. Oh, there we go. So now we have potentially hashes over here, and maybe we can crack them. So in my case here, I'm going to take this smaller a little bit, or maybe it's going to create an issue if it's too small. And then I'm going to open up a new terminal, and we're going to play a little bit around with it. So make their perfection. Oh, okay. So I see tables is like show tables for SQLite. Good points from far away. And then we have the second one, a really great shortcut in SQLite. SQLite is also .schema. If it's nice, small. Okay, let's give it a try. Nice. Oops. the other one, dot schema, enter, create table, user. Oh, it gives us some text about it. Yeah, that's very, very interesting. It's good. That could have given us pretty much all the information we were looking at, just straight up, or almost, right? All right, so now here we're going to go to perfection and do a nano on, let's say, hash over here. I'm going to put that here, okay, like into that file, Control X. I will save the buffer, yes, and then press enter. Now we're going to do a cat on the hash, and I'm going to pipe it, do a cut on the delimiter. I don't know, for whatever reason, I always mix them. So delimiter, I'm going to say 2, for example, and then because basically, well, it's 1, 0, 1, and then 2, right? So this is how we're going to do separation. And then we're going to do, let's go back here, field. I think that's what it is for whatever reason. I don't know why I keep mixing them. Is that what we're getting? Okay, so it's the opposite. So field 2, and then delimiter this. Okay, so that pipe thing is going to be our delimiter, which makes this field being field number 0, field number 1, and field number 2. If I hit enter, okay, now I need, oh, I guess, sorry, my bad. I mixed it probably with Python. So field number 3 to be able to get this, this set up. So I guess that was, I hate when I do that. Let's go back here. There we go. Okay, so that's, I guess at this point, that's field number 1, 2, and then 3. For whatever reason, I keep mixing them once in a while. All right, so now we have all of that. We have all the hashes. I'm going to put it onto a hash, hash 2 txt, and sorry, it's not the pipe. It's going there on this file. Okay, so if I do a cat on hash 2, this is exactly what we're looking for. In our case now, what I'm wondering is what those hash are. So if I do, let's say, hash ID, and I paste it here, enter, I can see that I got a couple of match, which most likely would be probably SHA-256 to make it a little bit easier for us to start with. The other one are not as common in this case, so we're just going to start with this. All right, Control C to be able to get out of there. And then now in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to run John. I mean, we could have run hashcat as well to be able to do that. But in our case here, we're going to do John. Let's do a hash 2. Okay. Over here, I don't know what's the format we're going to, or is it 2 SHA? I think it's raw-SHA-256. So let's just take a look at it. So we're going to list the formats, okay, that are available to us, and then press enter. All right, so we see here, this is happening. This is good. Raw MD5. That's weird. I got an email saying I'm presenting Hack the Box tomorrow. Interesting. It's supposed to be today. Meetup seems to have some issues, probably. Either way. Good. All right. So let's do 56. I cannot see it. Oh, there he is. Okay. There we go. So it's raw-SHA-256. But you can see like you have a bunch. So if you're looking for one specific and you want to make sure it just look for that instead of looking for anything else, you can very much put it this way. So we're going to do format equal SHA, no, it's raw-SHA-256. Okay. And is there anything else that we can? No, I think that's pretty much it. I guess we could probably use a word list to locate raw_q. .txt. Do I have it? They're in sec list. Okay, I hate that. We're going to have to export it. Okay. Let's go here to place, home folder. We're going to go to, I got to go home first. Here. I'm going to go USR, share, word lists. I'm just typing it in at the bottom, so that's why it's searching and found exactly what I'm looking for. Double click on it, and then I see raw queue over here. We are going to extract it to temp to make it easy for us. Obviously, if you have your own machine, it's going to be much easier because you can just like put it on to a location. Like for me, I really like OPT. And then leave it there. In this case here, I always have to do it this way because obviously this is a pull box. We have to be mindful of this. All right, so now this is this, and we're going to do a word list equal tmp and then rock u.txt. Let's give it a try. So it seems that there's no hit. So probably there's something else that we need to find into this place. Let's do a quit right now because I think we pretty much. Okay, let's do a Control C. No. Is there any reason why it does not? Quit, exit, Control C. Okay, there we go. Okay, now we're good. I don't know why it kind of bugged a little bit. So now in this case, what we can do is to start navigating a little bit around, right? We're going to do CD and then take a look at var. Do we have anything in there? Sometimes we can find information, can take a look at www, right? And take a look in there and see if there's like another website, HTML, LA, and we have nothing in here. What else do we have here? We have the backup. It happens in the past that I've seen something in backup that was available, right? So we need to check a look in backup. Sometimes there's something that could be useful for us. In this case, it's all root. So since we're not root, we cannot do anything else. I didn't do ID. Oh, that's interesting. See, I got sudo as a user. But if I do sudo -l, there's nothing I can do in this case because I don't have the password. So we need to figure out a way to be able to crack probably those passwords and see how it has been done. Sometimes it can be in mail, cd mail. And if I do a cat on Susan, because it seems that there is something in here, we are welcome with this message. So it says, due to our transition to Jupyter grades because of the pupil path data breach, I thought we should also migrate our credentials, including the other students in our class, to the new platform. I also suggest a new password specification to make things easier for everyone. The password format is first name underscore first name backwards underscore randomly generated integer between 1 and 1 million. So we got like 5 different, not 5, but we have 10 digits. Note that all letters of the first name should be converted into lowercase. Okay, so if it's, let's say, Susan that we saw, it should be Susan like in lowercase like this, not capital S. So the names that we had earlier onto the on-save here, we had Tina Smith, Susan Miller. So those ones should be all in lowercase when we take a look at them. And I guess that's the same thing. Like, I don't know if I can see it from here. So see, we have all the names over there. So it's the same thing as that. So all lowercase in this case. All right. So we have a little bit more information about what we can achieve, or at least what we can do. So we're going to go back here. And since we have some information about how we're going to do this, we have to find out like how can we, with John, get a password that will match something like Susan underscore NASUS and then underscore, and then we have like a bunch of different numbers, right? So it needs to be numbers. How do we do that with John? So let's go back to our friend over here, maybe ChatGPT. How can you Yeah, how can you with John? I mean, like, it doesn't need to be 100% accurate, the whole phrase. They should understand the Ripper. Randomize numbers, because it's supposed to be from 0 to 1 billion. Randomize numbers from 1 to, let's say, 1,000, just for now. Doesn't matter. We can keep repeating it if we need to later on. I don't know if it's going to tell us. Using bash. No, that's not what I want. I want it with John. The command John in Linux. I should have mentioned Kali instead. Is it going to tell us? So it says that, but that's not what I wanted. John number, wordless, random numbers. That's not what I want. Okay, so password looks like, I'm going to say that Suzanne, and then stars are the numbers. I guess we could have done something that works with it. Oh yeah, there we go. So it's basically creating us a script over here to be able to just like randomize them, put them into a word list, and then do it. But that's not exactly what I'm looking for, because I know there is something else. What about mask? I hear something.
Does it? That's my mic stand. Does it take regex? Can you ask if it'll use a regex or something?
Well, yeah, I can probably ask it. Let's see here if it does something or tell us something. All right, so like we're getting there at this point, right? So here tells John to use specific mask for the password. So this here represent digit 0 to 9. So that's probably what we're looking for here. But to the point that Steve said, we can probably give it a try too.
Yeah, I was thinking the old /D rather than the question mark D.
Oh, okay, /D.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one I would go for D because it's digits, as you can see here. And for you, you said what was again?
Well, in regex you would use like a slash, but for this one, like it's question mark for the mask part. So I think that answers my question.
Yeah. What about regex? Let's see if it's going to tell us something. Can we? Oh, that's interesting. Maybe we could actually do it with this, but it's all depending. Matches exactly 4 digits, but I'm not sure if it would actually go through that 100%. That's something we would need to check out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like we can probably take 2 seconds and give it a try, because I was not thinking about that one. Okay, let's put that there. I guess I don't need this. I can just write it in there. And then NASUS underscore, and then do this like that. If I hit enter, unknown regex. So maybe that's not something that can be done like that. We would probably need to play a little bit more to try to figure that out. It's quite possible. In our case, that's for sure. If we do the question mark D, and we have to do it 9 times, right? So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, like if it's stop after 9 and it's not found, I'm assuming that potentially it could be 1 million. The likeliness is very low though. So we're going to do a mask here and then equal Susan. I think that's how they wrote it. Do we have it? That's here. So, okay, and there's like single quotes there. So let's give it a try with single quotes. If we actually need, maybe we don't need them. So it seems to be going through. Oh, there we go. We got a hit. So I guess at this point, it worked. So since we are part of the sudo group, what we can do is try to see if we can actually do a sudo thing with this guy. So let's say sudo -l. Okay, and then press copy. Sorry, I copied the password, and now I'm going to paste it there. Press enter. So it seems that the password that we just did, it's actually working, right? Or at least that we just found is actually working over here. So now if I do this, I do like, can I just do SU? I can't remember if I can do that. I don't think so. Yeah, so it's sudo SU, probably is going to work in this case. Oh, there you go. So now it works. And if I do who am I am root. If I do ID, I am root. So if I go to /root, press enter, LA, and I see cat root here, and then I see my flag. So in this case, this is the flag I would submit directly. Like I showed you earlier, the user.txt, but in this case here, we have this person. So this is basically how to be able to get up to root in this machine, where we need to find some extra information on going a little bit further. So it's not because we find credentials that technically speaking, we're gonna be able to crack them right away, because things could be like completely off. So we may need to find some more information. Another thing could be happening too is we may need to just like, maybe not with this one specifically, but for other cases, pass the hash, because we will never find exactly what this password is, right? So that's again another thing to keep in mind with all of this. Okay, so we shared a nice tool on Discord. If you take a look at the Perfection channel, there's a tool called like from Hash Pals, name that hash. So I'm assuming name that hash. That's the tool to be able to help out for what's called to be able to figure it out which hash it is, right? And I'm assuming you can install it directly on your machine. So perfect. So that's pretty good at this point. So now we're gonna let Steve roll this onto the blue team, and then show us how. I can't speak right now. Show us how it's done. Blue team 2, and then there we go. It's you. Perfect.
Well, first, I'm very disappointed that someone like Susan, I understand she's a prof, but she has full root access with sudo. So that's my first question. Come on. That's are you doing giveaways? Doing giveaways on this one?
I think I have one I can probably give that nobody claimed last time. Yeah, give me a second. If you have a question, I guess you want to ask people.
I have a question. Yeah.
Okay, give me a second and like keep going a little bit. Give me a couple seconds, and then I'll go back to you with potentially one from another meetup that's nobody wanted to claim for whatever reason.
Okay. More of a try hack me guy, I guess, that person.
Yeah. No way. I'm not going on that platform.
All right. So the big thing here is, sudo su, and then I have root. And when you did the sudo -l, it was all. So they can do anything. They're officially root. There are a couple ways to lock that down. So first of all, there's PAM, pluggable authentication modules. You could lock that down. Probably the more easy way, because I'm not 100% sure how often people use PAM. I've seen it in use in some pretty highly sensitive environments, but for the most part, a lot of Linux admins I've dealt with in recent years haven't really played with it too much. So for one, create a user in etc sudoers, give them commands. So this can be a list of commands that they can run, because why would someone who is not the sysadmin have full root access once they use sudo? And let's see. See if I can share something else here. haven't tried to just share a window. I can, right? Yes. Beauty. So this is just on a Linux box that I have. I created just an account for Steve, right? So for myself. So this was my target box that I was using.
I see black right now. It's good looking black though.
Yeah, that's not what you want. Sometimes I forget, like 32-inch monitor is just like gigantic
yes.
terminals.
There we go. That works better. Let me also remove the branding here so we can see the top of it just in case.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I can see well now.
So I'll just log in as Steve. If I do sudo su, so boom, checkmate right there. And that's from, I'll just do, so this account does have full privileges. Sudoers. And then we had a weak password. Perfect. So you can see here, all I've allowed the Steve user to do is run apt-get. Darshan, on Windows, you're probably looking at Active Directory security groups, and then restricting privileges that way. Not everyone should be a domain admin. Not everyone should be an enterprise admin. Very few people should be. And privileges should be given out based on what do they absolutely have to do. And then can I ask my question?
Yeah. If you want to, the only thing that I have is a 1 month VIP plus in there. And then after that, I want to add something on your apt-get there.
Sure.
But if you wanted to ask your question, you can go ahead.
Sure. So I'll answer Darshan first. So Windows for home users, if you have multiple people using your system, then you can create people who aren't administrator users. And I would just run it that way. Otherwise, it's Windows. It's pretty permissive by default, but you could always create like an administrator account. And then you could, even for yourself, you could create an administrator account and then only a regular user account that you use on a day-to-day. So you would be able to do updates and you wouldn't be able to do add remove programs, anything like that, unless you logged in as the other user. You could do that. And all of that is called, it's one of the 3 big pillars of cybersecurity, and it's a principle. And what would that principle be called? And this is for the 1 month VIP.
Okay, so ask you again your question. I'm not sure if I got the question. So ask it again, and then this one is going to be for the 1 month VIP plus. I'm quite sure I still have available. If I don't, I will. Oh, I guess somebody answered. I see your smile.
Yep.
Okay. So if that code does not work, I mean, like you got to give it a try, and then if it doesn't work, you let me know, and then I'll give you another code, and that's going to work. But I think this one has not been picked up. But yeah, I guess who has the answer the first?
It looks like David T is on top.
David T. I think he's a good viewer of us. I think he's there pretty much every week or so, if I'm correct. And he's lucky enough to have won others before. So congrats, David T. Make sure you reach out to me directly on Discord. I am Malvik on Discord, the admin of the whole server. So you can just reach out to me and tell me that you're David T. And then I'll talk to you. I'm quite sure I know who you are directly there. But either way, just reach out to me, and then I'll give it to you later on. Perfect. That's good. Awesome. Did you have anything else you'd like to add, or you want me to go back to your go back there. Okay, so I'm going to share something with everyone into Discord. Not Discord, sorry, into YouTube. And I'm going to ask people to take a look at it. And I'm quite sure, like, oh no, your terminal. Go back to your terminal.
Oh,
I
my
guess,
terminal.
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so you see that that whole page there that tells you a bunch of information, and then showed you that Steve has only access to apt-get, right? So then now, what I've done is, like, if the user Steve gets compromised, I've shared onto YouTube a page where you could basically, like, get in there and get yourself root just with apt-get. So it's a way to be able to go around those defenses, right? So even though you're trying to minimize, a way to be able to avoid those things that happen, it may happen regardless. So you have to be extremely careful in how you do these stuff. You limit as much as possible those things. If you are able to, like Steve showed us, able to make sure that people don't know that apt-get can be used. Only the user Steve already knows, right? Without you doing like a sudo dash L. That might be a little bit better at that point. But yeah, so this is the link that I want to show you. And then you can see here on the Steve's all equal how you could potentially do it. So if you know you could potentially do it, and then you're like, this is the only way we can actually do our function, you may want to use that as use case and then put it in a seam or put it somewhere else to make sure that there's nothing of that sort that goes through.
Absolutely. And that account, like the Steve account, you would want to have, like multi-factor authentication. You want to have your layered defense, right? You want to have something on top of that, because if I get access to Steve's account and I use apt-get, then I can try and, pop out into it and get myself my own shell. So that's the beauty of all the living on the land, off the land, the GTFO bins, lol bins, that's all. You never know what application you're going to be using that could actually get you owned in the end. But yeah, so it goes with, well, not without saying, but I will add to that the Steve account has to be protected. Because that, just having the ability to do updates or to install software, that's great, but it's also very powerful. And as JF has showed us, it's also a pathway in for attackers.
Mm-hmm. Are you able to run the command? Do you want to do it on your machine, or that's something you don't want to do? That'd be cool to just give it a try and see real quick.
Oh, hold on. It's so tiny on my screen. Let's see here. If I go apt-get,
you can run that. That'd be cool to see how it's going to work. I never did it with apt-get. It's just like whenever I see something into this, I just do it myself to a little bit more privileges. But this one never did it. So change log.
Yeah. Apt.
Yeah, and if you do enter. Now, yeah. There you
Yikes.
go. ID. There we go. Bang. We just compromised the Steve. Yeah, that was easy.
Yeah, I almost said something definitely not Meetup friendly.
Yes,
that's crazy.
Yeah, so we just got Steve to hack his own machine. That's good. I like it. Yeah.
So actually, let's because I was in this account has more permissions. Let's try it this way with the Steve account to see if it still owns us. Oop. Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you need to know the password, right? The way I saw that, but
yeah.
For this one, but Steve, yeah. I mean, that's
and in a lot of environments, you'll see. Let me exit this one. You'll see that for someone like this, you'll be like, okay, we just want this to get done.
Yeah.
Help me.
No,
they'll put in the no password, right? Yeah. And that's That's not
Oh
what we
yeah,
want.
the no password thing. Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
this one is requiring the password for sure to get there. So obviously you need the password. So you would have to dig a little bit around to find this out, and then
Yeah,
after that you could get privileges there. Another thing too that's good that you did, at least, it's to have the absolute path, because some other people would just put like apt-get in there, right? The reasoning behind that is like if you're able to manipulate the environment and stuff like that, you might be able to just like overwrite basically apt-get, but not override the actual file, but kind of overriding the way that is going to be executed. Instead of going to that location into bin, it's going to go somewhere else, right?
Yeah, like let's say for instance I have netcat. I've pushed netcat to my system. I'm just gonna make it look real here. Oh, I have netcat. Well, now I'm gonna say, oh, now I have apt-get. So if I type apt-get, obviously it won't do anything because it's not actually a file. But I'm in this folder now. So by using the relative, if I didn't have the absolute path, then this could try to launch that file with the relative path.
Yep. Yeah, and to other location, which could be extremely, extremely bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with a script. If you have, let's say, tar that's supposed to compress stuff somewhere, well, if it's not absolute path, that could be an issue again. So no, this is great. This is great. Loving it. Loving this.
So yeah.
We come from my Steve. We have or Dandelion. That's the new.
Yeah, that's the
Hyperbox machine.
it's from The Witcher. It's from the books anyway. From The Witcher.
Okay.
He's the guy with the lute who's always singing and getting them into trouble.
That's good. That's good. Well, that's perfect. I mean, like we covered a good machine. I don't know. I don't see any other comments, but I think it's even though that's an easy machine, I think there's a lot of great stuff you can learn as you're moving along, right? So this
Absolutely.
is not meant to be like for anybody that's just starting or something like that. It's not meant to be like you just get in there, you're going to get all the good answers. It's not just giving you a book and we'll have all the answers in there, right? There's so much out there. You need to know the tools. You need to know so many things and just use them and try to catalog them into, I don't know, like it could be a OneNote. It could be like any other type of places you like to put your notes in, and then just start building up your stuff. Obviously, Hacktrix is a good place to go. But as you can see, GTFO bins is also another great one. There's so many things, but as you're moving along, you're going to be able to do it. And like I was just telling you guys a little bit earlier, and let's move on to this over here now instead. Yeah, so as I was saying earlier, there is like I never did apt-get before. I didn't know it was actually possible. I just realized, oh, that's there. Let's go take a look, right? Because I kind of know that there is a potential way of being able to go around those protections. Because as soon as you do a sudo for a specific binary, there's maybe something out there that has been done that will allow me to be able to go around it, right? So this is something to be very mindful about. All right, so I'm willing to stay a little bit around. I mean, like if you guys have anything else, or we can probably, I don't know, like I'm just doing random stuff. Probably like after hours, we can kind of call it. We were lucky enough to have Steve today with us, but I'm looking at maybe, I don't know. I'm wondering if there's enough people that would like to do a Sherlock, something like that. The one that's currently in there, we could potentially try to do it if people are interested, or maybe I could do it tomorrow. Yeah, maybe that's something I should do tomorrow on Discord. Yeah, are you guys up for maybe a Sherlock tomorrow, or maybe you can do a machine tomorrow? I'm not actually working, so I'm gonna be doing a little bit more streams this month, or at least the next month, so we can move things along. I don't see. Is there any comments here? I don't see anything else. Anybody's interested to have to do these things maybe tomorrow, or if you want to do it tonight, we can either end the stream and then go in Discord. I know for away probably want to go to bed. All right, well, I guess yeah, I see. Yeah, I don't see anything else. So all right, perfect. So I guess I don't see any messages anywhere. So just stay tuned. I'm going to try to take a look at it for tomorrow. Probably tonight works. Can't tomorrow. You talking about the I see far away what you're talking about. So you're saying doing the Sherlock or something like that, or doing a machine. So yeah, there's a little delay sometimes. It looks like they're dead space, but for the Sherlock, if you still want to, sure. Okay, so I think that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go onto Discord, and then we're gonna do some Sherlock a little bit, probably for maybe an hour or two or so. Let's see how it goes, and then have fun there. So, all right, thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed this session that we just went through. There's so many things that we could have covered as well into that machine, and then take a look at other options and so on. But obviously, we're limited in time. But that's something that can be very interesting to probably like delve a little bit more into it. So, all right, good. Thank you very much for your time. And then Steve, I hope you have a good month in August, and feel free to join us as well if you have time. I know you have a family, so it's understandable if you can't.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll probably jump on Discord and see what's going on.
All right, sounds good. All right.
Awesome.
Cheers, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Have a good one.
Take care.
Bye.